In this video, we're going to look at how you use the pattern tool to save yourself a lot of time when you're trying to create a shape that uses multiple copies of the same object. A really good example of this is the popsicle stick holder that I made for our class when we're picking out popsicle sticks. You'll notice from the picture that there are lots and lots of holes for all those popsicle sticks to go in, and all of those are exactly the same. That would have taken me a really long time to sketch by hand, to measure out all of those spacings and things like that. So I'm going to show you a really quick tool using the pattern feature that works for that. And you can do this for circular objects as well as rectangular or square objects. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sketch. So for this, if I want to recreate the popsicle holder, I'm just going to make this up for now. I create a shape, and within that shape, I'm going to add some rectangles. So I would normally do some precision here, and I would measure some points. So depending on how many holes I had, I might go across and I might say, okay, I want a little buffer. So I'm going to say put 2 mils on the edge. And the reason I'm doing this, I'm going 2 mils in both directions, is to give me a reference point. So when I put my first rectangle for the popsicle stick, it's not up against the wall. Because if I put it up against the wall, when I print it, I've got less than 1 millimeter thickness of wall. It's not going to work. I want an actual wall before I put a hole in it. So now I would say, okay, popsicle stick is 7 millimeters wide. It's only 4 millimeters high. I can press enter, and I've got this shape. What I would do now is I'd finish the sketch. I'm going to extrude that into an object. I'm going to turn that sketch back on for now, and you'll see now I've got this object. Now what I can do is I go to create, and I go pattern, and in this case I could do pattern on path or rectangular. So I want to create a whole grid, so rectangular is going to be really useful. Click the object, so it's telling me, select the object. Now it's saying select the axes that you want to use. So in this case, I'm going to use this. And you can see now I've got a quantity here. I've got a distance. That'll change as I click the arrow though. So as I drag this way, you can see it's spreading them out evenly. If I add more, so I wanted 8 across, and drag all the way to the edge because this is my reference of my sketch. This is how big it needed to be. In this case, I'm just going to make it really small. And then the second arrow is saying, cool, but now you can also go downwards. So I can drag down and do the same thing. I go, well, I wanted 8 of these. So I'm spread those out, spread those out. I've now got an 8 by 8 grid of objects. And if I just go OK, it's going to create them all. Watch my bodies explode because now I've got tons of objects. I've got 8 8s, I've got 64 just random boxes sitting here. So far, that's kind of like, okay, but I wanted holes cut in an object, right? So bear with me. I'm going to hide that for a minute because that's really messy. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch. I could also just do a straight up box. So maybe we'll just do, now I'll do a sketch because I want it to go off the page. So if I go back to my sketch, here I might measure again, because remember I wanted it to be from here 2 millimeters, because I need that gap along the edges, 2 millimeters. Switch to my rectangle tool, zoom out a bit, and now this edge I'm just going to wing, but for you, if you were doing a better job, you would measure this bottom corner here as well to make sure that that's also 2 millimeters. Great. This I can now extrude. Let's extrude that to be 2 millimeters thick as a new body. And what you're going to see is I've got the plate and I've got all of these many bodies. But I wanted them to all be cut out. I didn't want them all just to be sitting there like some sort of chocolate block looking thing. So what I could do is I could go up and find the first one, and then the good thing is they're all done together. So I can go all the way down and hold shift just like you would multiple select things in on your computer. Click 87, and now I've selected every single body except the base, because I've said I want to select the base. Now if I use my extrude tool, so I press E. Oh, that didn't work for me. Let's try that again. All the way Now if I select my combine tool, you'll notice it is now cutting them all out. So I can see it's in red. These are all being cut out. The target body is this. So it's cut every single square out. I click OK. I've now got a pretty sweet looking grid of holes. So that saved me a lot of time. If I was to sketch those each by hand, for some reason it missed you, so I'll just extrude you out, enter, done. And this is how I made the popsicle stick holder. This was the top piece. I made a separate box and just glued the two together. So that can be a really useful tool. That was the, let's just create another box real quick. So just to remind you, that was the pattern in a rectangle. The pattern on a path, you can do in a straight line. So yes, you can do it on a curve, but I could have actually done the same technique. So if I just make this 2 mil, I'm going to create a sketch on this just quickly to do the same thing. I'm not even going to measure for this one. I'm just going to make a really crude shape. Let's extrude that. Make it 5 mil, well, not 50 mil, 5 mil. I don't want to join, I want it to be new body. Okay, so now what I can do is I could go pattern on a path, select the object, select the path, and it looks the same as it did before, except it's not up and down now, it's just left and right. So I can change my quantity again, I can have my 8 cubes. I can switch it to symmetrical, so it goes in both directions, but that's not really useful for me. For this, I want one direction, and I go OK. And now I've got it. Now if I wanted to do the longer version of what I showed you before, rotate this back, I could now do the whole pattern on a path thing again, but when I'm selecting objects, I select all of them. And I go, okay, well I want all of these to follow a path. I want them all to follow this path. Now I'm going to create exactly the same effect as I did before. It was supposed to be an 8 by 8. It's not going to fit, it does just fit. And then I go OK, and I'm exactly where I was before. So it took me 2 steps. Sometimes there are advantages to this, sometimes it's just a waste of your time. The other thing that we can do then, in terms of patterns, is we can do a circular pattern. So if I delete all this for a minute, and we create a cylinder, I'm just going to make a 100 mil cylinder, 50 mil tall. And this can be a little bit tricky to do because on a cylinder you can't sketch on a face. But I want to cut holes through this cylinder to sort of just fill it with holes. So first thing I want to make it, let's use the hole tool, not the hole tool, let's use the shell. Make it a 3 mil thick cylinder. I'll just extrude the bottom out so that it's now a hollow cylinder. And now I want to cut a whole bunch of holes around the outside. So some tricks to this is, if I view it from the top, I'm going to create some reference objects. So I'll go to sketch. I'm going to draw a line just to the outsides. I'll go up this way as well, down this way as well. And I'm only doing this because this is going to be, I'm going to create an object here that I can then use to cut out of. So let me just show you what I mean. So for example, let's go 10 mil. By this direction actually doesn't matter, it should be 2. I'm going to do the same thing in the other direction just to make it even. So 10 by 2. And I'll do the same over here. Let's do a 10, whoop, wrong one, 2 by 10. And I'm only going to do it on 2 sides for now, both because I actually don't have to do it on all sides, but also to save time. So now I've finished the sketch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude these. You'll see what I'm doing in a minute. I'm going to extrude them down to the height. Make sure they're new bodies. Done. So what I've actually got is I've got a square surface right up against the edge of this sphere. The only reason I've done this is because if I try and sketch, I can't click a rounded object. It just doesn't work. I can only sketch on a square face. So what I can do now is I can go, all right, cool, let's sketch. Let's find the center point. So it's there, and I saw it here. It's not snapping for some reason. There we go. And I'm going to make it this big, finish that, and I'm going to cut it all the way through. So now I've got a hole. I could do this individually on all of those edges. I could, if I'm smarter, go, well, cut all the way through, and I've halved the number of surfaces and holes I need to cut because I get 2 for every single object. But the other option I could do is use the pattern to save myself time. So I'm going to make it in enough that it will cut, but I'm going to make it a new body. Now if I just go and turn off these, because these are useless, these were purely for placeholders, I've now got the thing that will cut the hole, and I've got the object that I want to cut it into. I can now go over and go create a pattern, a circular pattern, select the object, select the axis, it's going to be this, and now I can do all the same stuff I did before. I'm going to add more. It'll evenly distribute for me. Look at that, look at all those holes, well, soon to be holes. Look at all those shapes. Now I go OK. I've got a whole bunch of them, I can see them all here. All of these objects stuck on my cylinder. I do the same thing now. I go all the way down, I go modify, combine, I'm going to cut them. That one didn't work for some reason. I'll just cut you manually, I'll extrude you through. And look at that beautiful thing. I got a sweet little cylinder, it's like a cool little bangle, full of holes. So that's your pattern on a circle. We've also shown pattern on a rectangle and pattern on a path. So combining that can be really useful to create certain holes, certain shapes, different sort of things like that that you want. So that is using the pattern feature